Something I like to do with my to-do list is I like to prioritize it from nuclear bomb that's about to explode, all the way down to, I'd love to get it done, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't matter. A common challenge that business owners face is that you're trying to do too much at the same time, but you equally need to do too much at the same time in order for you to go and get done what you need to get done. And multitasking is exceptionally ineffective and exceptionally effective at exactly the same time. Right? We can often feel like a juggler at the circus. You've got all these balls and you're going to throw them up in the air, and what you're really worried about, I think, is if I drop a ball, then what happens? And so there's different ways that we can deal with this. Like, I find time chunking for different things really, really useful, but I tend to chunk in 2 to 4 hour periods, so like half a day. If you go and look at a developer's business, like with tech people, you know, they're coders and whatever else, the fastest way to bankrupt a software business is to go and put meetings in at like 10:30 in the morning and 3 o'clock at the afternoon. Because it takes somebody often a while to get into something and then get in the flow of something. And if we keep breaking, what actually happens is, like, we get in the flow and then we break. And then we've got to get back in the flow again and then we break. And so time chunking in larger chunks of time and giving yourself permission to ignore everything else for 3 or 4 hours, including the phone, the email, the whatever. Now, sometimes you need to communicate to people and say, I'm out, bye-bye, see you later. But actually then committing that 3 or 4 hours to get into a thing and just do a thing, what you often find you can do is you can get a day's worth of normal work done in 3 or 4 hours just by not being distracted by all the other things. And so the to-do list almost needs to become the what to ignore list. Something I like to do with my to-do list is I like to prioritize it from nuclear bomb that's about to explode, all the way down to, if it doesn't, I'd love to get it done, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't matter. And that changes every half a day or every day. And I think that what we often do is treat our to-do list as linear. But I think we also look at our to-do list and go, right, there's this thing here, which I've got a nuclear bomb, I've kind of dealt with that. And there's something on my list, which is like number 3 or number 4. But I actually feel really inspired to tackle it now. Like, cool, well, it's not the logical place for it to be, but I feel inspired, so let's just do it now. And the knowledge that there's no nuclear bombs, like really, really urgent things. And so I think we've got to be more playful with our time. And often, one of the reasons why we struggle to juggle everything is because we put unrealistic timeframes on ourselves. Like, we promise a customer that they can have X by Y, and in the perfect world, it might be possible, but actually the world's not perfect, and a laptop breaks, or, you know, the dog vomits on the carpet, or your car has a flat tire, or whatever, you have a head cold that day and you just don't think well enough, right? And you have that for a week, and everything comes on and goes slower. And so I think it's better to like under promise and over deliver, and say to a client, well, you can have that in 5 weeks time, and give it to them in a week because it happened by magic, than it is to say a week and struggle to do it in 3. So expectation management, but I really think that time chunking is something we all need to get like not better at, but more diligent over, more focused over. And, you know, in coaching, it's so wonderful because when I'm in a coaching session, I've got you. My phone is face down. I don't have any distractions open, and I can just be in that moment with that person and ask them questions. And I'd say that in our work, we should try and do the same. I think the I need to be responsive thing is wonderful, but if people are needing you to be responsive instantly, probably shows a system process, a process problem, a problem, one of those two things, a human problem where somebody who works for you doesn't trust themselves well enough, a customer that hasn't been satisfied well enough, or one of those sorts of things. So I think the settings on our phones are brilliant, by the way. So I have my phone set on silent, and there's 3 people where my phone will ring at any point in time. You're one of them, my wife is another, and my dad in the UK is another, right? And it will ring even when the phone's on silent. But the rest of the time, it just stays face down and it gets ignored. I think that technology it's almost like the devil is taking us down a path of being productive and being always responsive and having your phone and be able to quickly do this all of the time. And all we do is we just mess our brain up. And we go on this weird up and down and up and down and up and down yo-yo. And at the end of the day, we feel exhausted. We've done a lot but moved nowhere. We've like been on a rabbit wheel that's gone, not a hamster wheel, that's gone round and round and round in circles. And we're tired, but nothing's moved forwards. It's still static. Yeah, I think that is probably, in terms of managing our workload, is the most sensible way to do it. Understand who is actually important. And even then, like, I'll ignore my wife, I'll ignore you, I'll ignore my dad on occasions, just because it's, it's just not right. And I think, what is focus? Focus is actually purposefully ignoring the world about us. That's what focus is, purposefully ignoring the world about us to get something done. And I think that's very counterintuitive to how a lot of us were brought up, where we were actually brought up to always be aware of everything the entire time. But then that stops us from actually getting stuff done because we're so aware. Great hacks for that is work in a quiet place where there's no distractions. That's probably the biggest one, actually. Close the emails on your computer, close WhatsApp on your computer, close all of those social media on your computer. Anything, turn all your notifications off. Anything that can DM you or ping or pop up, turn off. I also think if you get to the end of inspiration with something, it's often a good time just to stop and park and move on to something else. And if you've got the opportunity to, wait till you get inspired again. There's always going to be a time where we run out of time. What I tend to find is when we run out of time is sometimes when we do our best work. It's like gun against the head, have to run, have to make it happen. And suddenly that's where the most amount of inspiration, maybe even the most amount of God arrives actually. It's like panic stations, get it done. That's often when the miracles happen, when the 20-minute thing takes 2 minutes or the 4-hour thing happens in 30 minutes. You know, the last seminar I delivered, 8 hours long, and I built it all in 2.5 hours. And people loved it. Yeah, so I think that's the best thing to do with regards to managing that responsibility and workload. And when it comes to other people with that, especially employees, hold them to higher account. I think all of us are guilty of micromanaging and not holding people to a high enough account, right? And we end up doing their work for them by default. Human beings have especially employees, often have a great knack of trying to not take on responsibility and just pass it back up the food chain to somebody higher. But really what they're doing by not taking the responsibility is actually avoiding doing their job. And so hold people more accountable and make them be responsible for what actually they are responsible for.